स्टूडेंट्स, आपके एमएससी फाइनल बॉटनी का जो पेपर है प्लांट फिजियोलॉजी एंड मेटाबॉलिज्म, उसमें हमको स्ट्रेस फिजियोलॉजी के बारे में पढ़ना था। तो लास्ट दो वीडियो में हम स्ट्रेस फिजियोलॉजी का जो इंट्रोडक्शन है, व्हाट इज स्ट्रेस एंड व्हाट आर द कॉजेज बिहाइंड द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ स्ट्रेस इन द प्लांट्स, सो ये हम लोगों ने देखा था। लास्ट वीडियो में हमने stress damage due to excess of water and the scarcity of water, दोनों की कंडीशंस में जो स्ट्रेस कॉज होते हैं उनसे रिलेटेड हमने बात की थी। आज हम टेम्परेचर स्ट्रेस और उसके बाद एनवायरमेंटल एक्सट्रीम्स इत्यादि से संबंधित जो स्ट्रेस हैं उनसे रिलेटेड बात करेंगे। देखिए, टेम्परेचर स्ट्रेस में भी दोनों ही चीज़ें होंगी। देयर आर both kinds of extremes can be discussed here, the low temperature and the high temperature. In the last video we could discuss that the low temperature can cause the formation of ice crystals in the protoplasm, while high temperature can cause leaf burning or tissue disintegration, etc. So in detail we will discuss about the temperature stress. So temperature stress, low or high temperature, called frost injury or heat injury respectively. Frost injury that is caused by the low temperature below freezing point combined while with frost. So what does frost does uh, how the frost can damage the plant cells or the tissue? That freezing, intercellular freezing, you can see that the water molecules that are present in the intercellular spaces that can be freezed, so ice crystals can be formed. So and we know very well that the ice can be damaged, ice can be harmful for the plant cells. So intercellular freezing occurs when temperature falls gradually. So intercellular freezing often occurs when temperature falls suddenly. Ice results in the direct injury to the cytoplasm, and we can say the rupturing of biomembrane or organelles and damages to the cell compartments and metabolic disorders. Much more serious damage is caused by intracellular freezing than by intercellular freezing. How? Why this is the more serious intracellular? That means the freezing is going to be done within the cell. Okay, so within the cell, so the protoplasm will be freezed there. Okay, the ice crystals will be formed, so the biomembrane can be ruptured and the cell would be damaged, and that would be dying. So damage to the protein also, you can see here in the screen the before freezing and during frozen. So you can see that sulfide bonds can be more together in the frozen state. Biomembrane, we can see the electric conductivity would be increased, so cell material leakage would be increased, change in the state of lipid and protein denaturation. Chilling injury in tropical and subtropical plants is caused by temperature above 0 degrees Celsius. Okay, so with the freezing injury in the last time, in the last slides, we discussed about the freezing injury. Freezing injury, that means below 0 degrees Celsius temperature, but above 0 degrees Celsius temperature we can call it chilling injury. The chilling injury can be, for example, in the maize, cotton, rice seedling, minus 10 for 10 degrees Celsius, rice pollen mother cell division 23 degrees Celsius for Oryza sativa and 20 degrees Celsius for Oryza japonica. So there the range of temperature is there. Metabolic disorders are there, also there to due to the lowering of temperature. Now, what are the physiological responses of the plant to low temperature? Water content, metabolism, growth will be decreased. The protective substances would be increased, like ATP and sugar. Unsaturated fatty acid increases in membrane. Abscisic acid will be increased. Gibberellic acid will be decreased, and the dormancy will start to appear. So protein resistant to freezing accumulation. In response to the freezing injury, or the freezing phenomena, the plants start to accumulate some resistant proteins, so they can protect the cells of the tissue from the freezing. Freezing resistant protein like icebox, the gene expression induced by freeze resistant protein. Methods to increase the resistance to low temperature, the resistant cultivars, use of resistant cultivars, and the last time we also discussed the use of resistant cultivars to protect plants from the the high water access damages and the scarcity of water damages, low temperature hardening, chemical control like treatment with the cytokinins and the abscisic acid, other like PK application, phosphorus application, keep far with artificial things. So these are all are the things that can be used to increase the resistance for temperature. High temperature stress and high resistance of plants. So just like a chilling injury and the freezing injury, here we can see that heat injury, the cold favored plants, some alga, bacteria and fungi meet heat injury at the 15 to 20 degrees Celsius. Temperature mediated plants and the temperature favored plants. So heat injury is a damage to temperature mediated plant by high temperature above 35 degrees Celsius. Indirect damage that can cause starvation, poisoning, deficiency of biotins, damage of nucleic acid and proteins. So these are the direct or indirect damages to the plant via the heat injury. Protein denaturation, configuration damage. The degree in denaturation is positively related to water content in the plant tissue. Dry seed is able to resist 70 to 80 डिग्री सेल्सियस. सो डिनेचुरेशन जो है वो पॉजिटिवली होगा यदि वाटर कंटेंट उसमें उपस्थित है, क्योंकि वाटर कंटेंट जो है उसकी वजह से वाटर कंटेंट की वजह से जो है इसमें टेम्परेचर का इफेक्ट ज़्यादा पड़ता है. जैसे कि आप फॉर एग्जांपल ड्राई सीड जो होंगे वो 70 से 80 डिग्री सेल्सियस टेम्परेचर पर डाइजेस्ट कर सकते हैं. Lipid liquefaction can be happen there. Mechanism of heat resistance, high stability of protein under heat stress, much sulfide bonds would be occurred, lower water content, high contents of saturated fatty acid, high contents of organic acid. So these are the mechanism to escape by the heat injuries. Form of heat shock proteins. Heat shock proteins are a newly synthesized set of proteins that organisms ranging from bacteria to humans respond to high temperature. In response to high temperature, the heat shock proteins HSP would be formed. So their functions to protect or repair proteins, nucleic acid, and biomembranes from the heat injury. These are the important, and these are also some questions regarding heat shock proteins have also been asked in the NAT, CSIR NAT uses NAT exams. So this is an important topic, heat shock protein. You can study it in the biochemistry. More than 30 heat shock proteins, 15 to 27 kilodalton weight. Some are the chaperones are there. Salt strength in the next section. So in the last sections we discussed about the water and temperature. Now it's time to discuss about the salt stresses and the resistance to salt. So this is against the salinity. Over 1% of salt content in the reclaimed tideland. So actually there is a increasement in the salinity of soil due to land pollution, etc., and even water pollution due to water pollution. So and the excess use of the fertilization, these are the some causes behind the salinity of soil. So how the plants respond against the salinity is the mechanism. Salt in your physiological rot, single salt toxicity, metabolic damages. So these are the some salt injuries, examples of salt injury. So when we talk about the mechanism, three types of responses to resistance to plant diseases. फिजियोलॉजिकल ये प्लांट डिजीजेज में जो है ये काफ़ी डिटेल टॉपिक है, द मैनेजमेंट ऑफ प्लांट डिजीजेज. बट प्लांट डिजीजेज ड्यू टू स्ट्रेसेस, प्लांट डिजीज पैथोजन जो है वो स्ट्रेस तो कॉज करते ही हैं. ठीक है. Physiological damage of plant disease to plants. The cell membrane permeability would be increased, metabolic disorders would be occurred, water metabolism, absorb, loss of transport, photosynthesis, respiration, assimilate, transport. So these are the some responses due to physiological damages. The resistance of plant to plant diseases, the formation of protective structure, hypersensitive response, immunoinduction, etc. can be happen. After the plant pathogen, plant diseases, another section is the role of plant in environment protection. Oxygen CO2 equilibrium, that is one more factor that can cause the stress. Prevent the water and the soil loss, clean soil, water and other environmental conditions or detoxification, detect environmental conditions. And the general responses to stress is like damage in the biomembrane system, disorder in the metabolism, functional proteins, so denaturation and stress protein synthesis, osmotic substance synthesis, and change in plant hormones. So these are the general responses to the stresses. So this is all about the stress biology. So in nutshell, uh, we can just let it be very brief that some the abiotic environment there and its biological impacts are like fun the most important stresses are there. First, that was the water deficit and flooding, that we can say water scarcity or water excess. Second is the imbalance in the soil minerals. If the imbalance is there in the soil minerals, so in that case, the salinity, acidity, etc., would be increased in the soil. So temperature stress, we have discussed about that, and the highlight stress. So these are basically these four type of the stresses, which are mainly responsible for to cause mainly responsible. Okay, another developmental and physiological mechanisms that protect a plant against environmental extremes. Okay, so these are the some stresses and the notes regarding this lecture I am also sharing